So in this video, I'm going to be explaining why I haven't been investing into Pokemon recently. Maybe it has become obvious that I haven't been buying anything, but there was a period a few months ago where I was on a spree. I was making videos pretty often showing you guys what I was picking up. And I just checked just to see, okay, well, when was the last time I actually bought something as an investment? It was back October 15th, so a little bit over a month ago. That was the last time I bought anything to invest into. So yeah, it's been quite a bit because usually I'm pretty active finding deals, buying stuff, but I've stopped. Why all of a sudden? Why in the past month? Especially prices have gone down for things. Why am I not buying anything? Well, in this video, I'm going to explain why I haven't been buying anything. I know there's many people where maybe now they're buying a ton of stuff because prices have gone down, but for me, there's been a few reasons why I'm not investing in anything right now. And when will I invest in anything? That's what I'll talk about at the end here. So the first reason is that I have already invested into everything I wanted to from Scarlet and Violet and Sword and Shield. So Sword and Shield, that's basically when I started my channel, right? That's when I was buying booster boxes anywhere from like $100 to $200, right? That's where I was buying my Sword and Shield booster boxes, and since then I've sold some off. But I'm just holding on to whatever I have left. So I'm not looking to buy anymore, obviously, because I would have just held onto what I had previously. There's still great opportunities if you're just starting to invest. Right now, I believe there are still great, opportunities like Lost Origin. I've been talking about a lot pretty heavily. But other than that, I already have a lot of Lost Origin, to be honest with you guys. So I'm kind of, not really looking to add any more at this current price point. But I do think there's opportunity, but I'm just happy with what I have and what I paid for previously. So I'm pretty much done with Sword and Shield. I mean, bought most of that stuff, a couple of years ago. For Scarlet and Violet, I'm pretty much, good with Scarlet and Violet. There are some sets I wish I had more of, to be honest. Like one is Paldea Evolved. I don't have much Paldea Evolved at all. I have very little. Same thing with Destined Rivals, but it's just the price point right now that they're at. They're not attractive, right? Paldea Evolved, I would say, is like all right, to buy at 400. But for me, I don't know. It's kind of hard to bring myself to pay $400 when I was buying them for about $100 not too long ago. I know that shouldn't matter, but Paldea Evolved, with the Magic card being pretty expensive in a PSA 10. I've talked about it. I think at 400 it's still fine in the long term, but for me, I have some. It's kind of to buy something. If I didn't have any Paldea Evolved, I'd probably buy a couple of booster boxes, but I already have some, so for me, I'm not really looking to pick them up at this price point. Destined Rivals, I've really never recommended buying at $400 for an investment. I don't think anyone really has, and it's just too new to really be saying, it's a great buy at this price point. And just everything else. There's nothing that appeals to me. 151 I've talked about. It's, in my opinion, it's really expensive. If you're trying to buy like ETBs, UPCs, there's maybe some value in like Blooming Waters collection boxes and going into that sort of realm of products. I'm not looking to do that. So 151 is kind of, not really that attractive to me right now. For the main products, Pallian Fates, I don't honestly have anything, so there's really not much to say with that. And there's nothing else that stands out to me. Obsidian Flames is kind of, I don't have any. I don't really like the set, where I don't think is great. And I do think, it's at a point now where, there's so many better options if you're going to invest and spend $300 on a booster box. Just everything else doesn't appeal to me in, Scarlet and Violet. Black Bolt, White Flare, it's been the same price since release. You could consider that to be somewhat of a good value because the set value is really high. But I don't have any Black Bolt or White Flare. And I'll be honest with you guys, I might not ever have any Black Bolt, White Flare, depending on in the future, what happens to some if there's some other releases that are maybe I see as better opportunity, or maybe as you can see here on the bullet point here, an exception for me, kind of being done investing into Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet. The only thing I'd probably invest more into in Scarlet and Violet is Prismatic. I know it's I've been always talking about Prismatic, and in the past few months or a couple months ago, that's all I was buying, and you guys saw that. If ETBs, if I can buy them anywhere close to like 100, I know now they're getting pretty close there. You can buy some for like 125. If it gets pretty close to 100, I'll buy more. But I have so many, guys, that I was like, okay, I could keep buying, but at this point, it's like one of those things where, okay, I have a lot. Could I buy more now? It's a decent pickup, sure. But I have so much to the point where I'm only really going to buy if I can get a good discount. So that's my plan. is really I'm only going to buy prismatic ETBs if they get close to $100, like maybe like under 110, $100. Like I'll probably start buying more, but I have a lot and I'm pretty happy with what I have. And yeah, I know it's such a minimal difference of $15, or $20, but I like I said, I mean, it just doesn't matter to me at this point if I get more or not. So I'd want to get it somewhat of a discount. So close to $100, I'll pick more up. But for now, I'm already sort of done. The next reason, this might be pretty obvious, and you guys have seen recently, I haven't bought any of the new releases. Mega Evolution, Phantasmal Flames. Haven't bought a single product. I haven't bought a single thing. Mega Evolution at 240, I've talked about. I think it's a fine investment at 240. We've gotten the second wave of supply. It's at this point, I mean, will there be reprints and things to come in the future? Sure. But at 240 for the value that's in the set, I think it's a decent pickup. But Mega Evolution, I always saw it as a good set, but for some reason it never stood out to me as being something that I see in the future being amazing. Because if you look at the chase cards being Lucario and Gardevoir, I don't see how a set like that is going to be outstanding. Just in my opinion. I mean, those are the top chases. I think it's hard to see a set like that for me being a top set. So I kind of just skipped it. And you guys know I'm one of those people that doesn't invest in everything, obviously. So Mega Evolution, I never really plan on investing into it. I always talked about how I was going to skip it and buy Phantasmal. At some point, am I going to buy Phantasmal? 100%. I've told you guys this. I want to buy Phantasmal, even though it's a small set. A lot of people are talking about it being a small set. And, it's not that great. I think the artwork is going to be a generational artwork. It's still, obviously a very new set. But I think once it goes out of print, this is going to be looked at as, I think, a pretty good set because of the Charizard. I mean, regardless if, Charizard's really the only, chase in there, the artwork is so great that I think it's going to be sought after. But Phantasmal Flames, you guys know right now, I'm not picking any up because we still haven't gotten the second wave of supply, and the set's only like a couple weeks old. So, and you look at the price of Phantasmal booster boxes at $275, $280, and you look at Mega Evolution after the second wave hit, it dropped all the way now down to $240. It's like, and the set value is like double. Why am I buying Phantasmal Flames at $270, $280? It makes no sense. So I'm holding off on Phantasmal. There's just no reason to be buying it right now. And the same thing is probably going to be said with Ascended Heroes. I don't think it's going to be cheap. It's kind of weird how the market is kind of in like a low point right now, but the new releases are still pretty expensive. It's because there's like enough hype, I guess, with the new stuff that the new stuff stays expensive, but the other parts of the market aren't doing as well. But I'm probably gonna skip Ascended here, even though I seemingly think it's the best set here out of Phantasmal and Mega. I've talked about it. I think it's the best set, just objective or subjectively, right? Just look at all the artworks, the featured Pokemon. It's way better than everything else in my opinion by a long shot. But if it's expensive, I'm not gonna buy it. Especially with this market, it's very hard to predict what's gonna happen. Next year after the holidays, with all the things being said, people think it's gonna rebound next year. I don't know, but. If Ascended Heroes is expensive, I'm going to skip it. I'm not really too pressed. There's no FOMO, you could say, right now. I think and no one's really feeling the FOMO. The market is, just not as strong as it used to be. So just buying new releases and trying to take that risk, especially at some of the price points, just doesn't seem worth it. And I honestly don't know. Is Ascended Heroes a waived release? It might be. I don't know. But if that's also a waived release, even more of a reason not to buy it at release, right? Or pre-order it. So when will I start investing again? Because, I haven't been, buying anything in the last month and a half. And I honestly don't see in the near future really buying anything unless, some prices get extremely low. When new releases become cheaper, I'll start investing in buying them because, like I said, I mean, Scarlet Violet Sword and Shield, I'm done pretty much buying unless, Prismatic ETBs become close to 100. If new releases get cheap again, I'll start buying, and that's very subjective, right? What is cheap? Are we talking about going back to $100 booster boxes? Are we talking about, going back to maybe close to MSRP? Is MSRP what's considered cheap? It's really hard to say. I don't think it's a black and white, sort of situation with, what's cheap. I think it's cheap relative to the market conditions. So if the market is strong and let's say a booster box, I don't know, somehow in the set is, expensive and strong, and the booster box is like $200 or less, or a little bit less than that, maybe I'll buy some, right? But if the market is super weak and the set isn't that good and the booster box is close to MSRP, I still might not buy. So there's definitely, is a situational thing with, what's cheap. It depends on the market, because, right now, if you look at, for example, Phantasmal Flames and stuff, I mean, I would say that it's expensive, right? I don't think it's cheap at all. And for me, what is cheap for Phantasmal? Maybe that's an example to give. I would say if Phantasmal gets like $200, I think that's cheap, right? Relative to this market. If Phantasmal Flames gets its second wave of supply and booster boxes are $200, I'll probably buy. I guess caveat, depending on the prices of the Charizard, right? The Charizards are still like $400 or $500, and the booster box is $200. I'll probably pick some up. But if the cards somehow get dirt cheap, and the booster box is $200, it's all dependent. As you can see, it's very hard to answer, or I guess give a clear cut answer. But if things get cheaper comparatively to the market, I'll start buying again. But new releases are still way too expensive, especially considering the market conditions and these wave releases that I'm not buying anything. I'm not pressed to, because there's no reason to be, because the market isn't strong like, before, where Deaths and Rivals booster boxes came out the gate at 250 and went up to 450. We're not in that time right now. So I am definitely being a lot more passive and just sort of looking at the market, and that's all I've been doing. I've not been investing recently, and I honestly don't really plan on doing so unless there becomes some extremely good deals out there. But for now, I've been just sitting out. So that's all I'm going to talk about in this video. Let me know if you guys have been still buying. I've sort of just stopped. And I've seen some other people saying they've stopped as well. And I feel like a lot of people probably are in the same boat as me, where you've probably bought all you wanted in maybe the past year. And now, even though things have dropped, you already have what you want. And if you were going to buy anything, maybe they're just new releases, and those are still too expensive. So that's all I want to share in this video. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.